almost everything that's claimed to be hypnotherapy is actually a myth. And on rare occasions, something that actually qualifies as hypnotherapy may be occurring. This is Jurgen Rasmussen. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis vlog. So in this very episode, I want to talk about the difference between literal hypnotherapy and metaphorical hypnotherapy, literal psychotherapy and metaphorical psychotherapy. And I want to make the case why making a distinction between the two is so important and how almost all of it belongs in the realm of myth. So let me start out by describing what is an attempt at literal hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. So these days, I'm seeing a client who has breast cancer. She's a former client of mine, and after having been diagnosed, she called me and she said, "Look, can I come see you? I really want to come see you and see if there's anything that can be done working on the psychological and emotional level." Now, understand this. There's no money involved. I'm not charging this person. I'm not interfering at all in the medical treatment that she's going to be undertaking. Um, I don't give her any medical advice, and I don't make any promises or any claims. But what we are doing is that we are exploring what may be going on at the psychological and emotional level that may have contributed to her developing breast cancer at this particular time in her life. Breast cancer is a literal diagnosis. It's a literal disease. So as we work in a psychological, emotional way, if what we do corresponds with actual tumor reduction or a remission of the breast cancer, if that were to happen, then that would be an example of literal hypnotherapy and literal psychotherapy, meaning you're using an approach that deals with how you make meaning, how you think, how you relate to feeling, solving conflict, as a means to attempt to generate a shift or change in an actual disease condition. Now, is this going to happen in this particular case? I don't know. But it's an attempt at hypnotherapy. And if we succeed, if she actually makes a change, then that's going to qualify as literal hypnotherapy or psychotherapy, depending upon which term you want to use. I want to be clear too that I'm not claiming that a specific technique or format is doing something to a disease, right? But one of the things that modern medicine has done is that it has separated the mind and the body, and it has a tendency to separate the individual from the social surround and the culture and the social system that they are a part of. So, well, why is this? Why does this matter? Well, because for most of us, most of the time, when we see clients, there's nothing to treat. People have unwanted behaviors, or they have thoughts and feelings that the way they relate to those thoughts and feelings generate a lot of suffering for them. We may call that depression or OCD or panic attacks or a phobia. But these are not diseases in the literal sense. The various mental illness diagnoses are metaphorical diagnoses. Now, what some people hear when I say that is, oh, you heartless, cruel bastard, these people are suffering. I said, yes, quite a few of them are suffering quite a bit. Not doubting that for a second, but they don't have an actual brain disease. There's no brain pathology that's been demonstrated. So there's nothing to treat in a literal sense. What you're doing is you're helping people to relate to their thoughts and their feelings differently, and you're helping them to change their behaviors. And that can reduce their sense of suffering a lot. It's a very useful thing to do. But it's not therapy and it's not treatment in any literal sense. Consider this analogy. If a beautiful woman walks by and I say to you, man, she's a knockout, that's a metaphor. The beautiful woman, the metaphor of she's a knockout stands in relation to a boxer literally getting knocked out in the boxing ring, in the same way that a metaphorical mental illness diagnosis stands in relation to an actual brain disease. Even in the case of, for example, chronic pain, there's a lot of people who have tremendous levels of chronic pain, but there's nothing wrong with them necessarily. They don't have any pathology that has anything to do with the pain. So one thing that we do know today from the signs of pain is that acute pain and chronic pain actually looks different on brain scans. There's different brain areas involved. And what we also know is that it's possible to have tremendous levels of chronic pain without anything being wrong in the body. So if you can help someone resolve their pain by helping them understand pain and how it's generated, and help them to relate to the sensations in a different way, so that the fight or flight response that keeps the chronic pain going is turned off, that's tremendously useful, right? In reducing someone's suffering, or whether you help someone to resolve an allergic response or a migraine headache. But it's still not therapy or treatment, something to treat in the literal sense. Now, paradoxically, sometimes, and I've seen this many times, I'm not the only one. You can check out the books of people like Jeffrey Rediger or Dr. Kelly Turner, who writes about radical remissions and radical hope. People who have done research into the nature of spontaneous remissions from disease. Sometimes when people resolve deep psychological conflicts, or what's referred to as trauma, or they get a new zest for life, or there's a deep, profound shift in identity, sometimes when those things happen, people may have remissions from various diseases, or a partial remission, or a reduction in symptoms. Now, is that proof of a cause and effect relationship? No. Might they just be two things happening simultaneously, as a cynic might claim? Yes, that may certainly be the case. But sometimes, even if you do metaphorical work, meaning you're helping someone to deal with thoughts and feelings and behaviors differently, The effects of that may on occasion still be a shift in a disease condition, even though you can't claim any cause and effect relationship. So these are important distinctions to make. One of the reasons why this is important is because if you look at chronic pain, for example, which is something I have a lot of experience in helping people deal with, most of the people who have chronic pain do not have any pathology that's generating the pain. It's their brain generating the pain. A bit like phantom limb pain. Someone might have a lot of pain in a wooden leg. So the pain is generated by the brain, by the mind. If the pain was in the leg, so to speak, the pain should have disappeared when the leg was amputated. Now, of course, if you ever work with someone for pain, you have to make sure that they've had the appropriate medical tests. Someone with severe headaches might have a brain tumor, and they may also have no pathology whatsoever related to the pain. And now, pain is pain, but it is truly important because, as I said, in most instances of chronic pain, there's nothing wrong with the body that's generating the pain. But this cultural belief that most of us have that says, look, if I have pain in the body, it means that something's wrong. That belief, that interpretation, very often is exactly a big part of what contributes to benign sensory data being interpreted as threatening. And it's that fear-pain loop that keeps the chronic pain going in most cases. This is one reason why it's very important to, again, get people diagnosed by a medical doctor, make sure that they get appropriate medical concern, but also to help people dispel such beliefs that pain necessarily means that something's wrong. And the same in the whole world of mental illness. So many people have this idea that if they have unwanted behaviors or if they have, thoughts and feelings that really torment them, that psychological suffering somehow is evidence that there's something wrong with their brain. Now, there might be, they may have a neurological condition of sorts, they may have a brain tumor, but in the vast majority of cases, people can have quote unquote troubling feelings and emotions without anything being wrong with the brain. But this belief that suffering equals disease is one of the factors that very often contributes to a lot of unnecessary suffering. I think one of the worst things you can do is to attribute to people that their symptoms mean that they have a brain disease and that there's not that much they can do for themselves as a result of that when they are in fact healthy. Now, consider this too, and this is an argument that Thomas Sauce, made for decades. I highly recommend that you check out his work. He would make the point in the case of mental illness, right? That of course a brain can be sick, but a mind cannot be sick. Now, why is that? Because a mind is a non-existent entity. There's no such thing as a mind. Of course, there's the experience of being. You could call that consciousness or being. There's subjectivity. There's aliveness. There's thoughts and feelings and sensations. But This is an activity. If you try to find a mind as anything objective, you won't find anything that has any objective qualities. It doesn't weigh anything. You can't measure it. It's not located anywhere. Has no solidity, has no center, has no duration. You know, so something that has no objective qualities can, of course, not be sick in the literal sense, right? So that's why any mental illness diagnosis is a metaphorical one. It's not an actual, literal diagnosis. And suffering is not evidence of pathology in and of itself. Now, some people who listen to this might go, yeah, but we can correlate certain behaviors or certain ways of thinking with certain patterns of neural activity or activation in the brain. Sure, of course you can. Of course there's a correlation between subjective experiences and brain activity. In the same way that, on brain scans, you can see the difference between chronic pain or acute pain or a brain who's not in pain, right? But none of that is in and of itself evidence of a disease or brain malfunction or anything necessarily being wrong. So one of the most useful things for me in my change work career has been to help people to see through this notion that mental illness is an actual literal diagnosis, and to essentially establish the frame that, look, all we're really going to do is to help you relate the thoughts and feelings in a different way. A thought can't be sick. A feeling can't be sick. A behavior can't be sick. Might be illegal in a particular society, but a behavior in and of itself cannot be sick. So I hope this was useful. If you resonate with my ideas, know that I see clients from all over the world online. So if you'd like to work with me and see if we are a good fit, you can reach me at provocativehypnosis.com. I also do mentoring. And my next seminar seems like it's going to be in Stockholm the last weekend of September. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. When there's concrete information, I will put it on the Provocative Hypnosis site. Anyways, as always, thanks for listening. Hope this was useful.